Hi, this is Chapter 5, Lesson 3 on how to compare and order integers. What you're going to need is your math book. Open up to pages 363 through 366. Now this is volume 1 of your book, and you're also going to need a pencil. So the first thing we're going to talk about is to list two real-world scenarios that we're going to use for this lesson. One is we're going to compare distances below sea level, and the other one we're going to compare golf scores within this lesson. Alright, so let's go ahead and look at the real world link down below. It says winter. Fairbanks is located in interior Alaska. The average temperature for several months is shown on the thermometer. So you want to look over in this thermometer over here that I just circled. So it already lists the temperatures for January, February, and November. So question number 1 asks us, it says, the average temperature for December is negative 6.5 degrees Fahrenheit, and the average temperature for March is 11 degrees Fahrenheit. Label December and March on the thermometer. So what I would like for you guys to do is go ahead and look on the thermometer. Now your negative numbers are going to be right here below 0. So this is where you're going to go ahead and label December in there. And then your positive numbers are here above 0 over in this area. So this is where you're going to go ahead and find where March is. So I want you to find where those numbers fall, and then you're going to list the month and the degrees just like they did with January, February, and November. So you can see here, December, I went ahead and found, I kind of drew an arrow as best as I could because it's so tiny. It's going to be just beneath the where the negative 5 mark is. Now this is your negative 5 line right here that I just drew in blue. So negative 6.5 is just below that. And then for March, it is labeled with 11 degrees, and I should have probably put that little itty-bitty circle there between each of those numbers. That basically is the symbol for the word degrees. And you can see how I place both of those on my thermometer. Question number 2 says, which months have a greater average temperature than February? So that means you're going to find where February is on the line. So February is right here. And you're going to list the months that have greater temperatures. That means bigger temperatures, or in this case, warmer temperatures. Those happen to be November and March. Question number 3 reads, which months have a lower average temperature than November? So you're going to find November and choose the months that have a colder average, or numbers that are below that spot. Those 2 months happen to be February, December, and January. Don't forget about the December one, the one that you wrote in there as well. Question number 4 reads, complete the inequality to compare the temperatures of November and February. Now we talked about inequalities before. When the arrow points to the right, it means greater than. When the arrow points to the left, it means less than. And of course we know equal to. Now we're not going to have any of the greater than or equal to or less than or equal to in this lesson. So look, going back to number 3, it's comparing November's temperature, which they said was 3 degrees, and it's comparing it to February's temperature, which we found to be negative 4. So what you're going to do is you're just going to simply put negative 4 right here inside your box. 3 is greater than negative 4 because it is located on the positive side of a number line. All right, let's go ahead and turn your page to page 364. On this one, it says here to compare integers. To compare integers, you can compare the signs as well as the magnitude or size of the number. Greater numbers are graphed farther to the right. Okay, so first things first, if you're comparing two numbers, such as in the first example, they're asking you to compare the number negative 3 and then the number 2. And I see this because I see where they have the dot here and here. The first thing you could do is look for the number that has the positive symbol with it, which would be the number 2. Any positive number is always bigger than the negative number, is always greater than the negative number. So in this case, we know that 2 is bigger than negative 3. And that's one thing that you could look at when you're doing those. Now, if you look at the second number here, the second graph, we're looking at both the way they graph the negative 3 and negative 2. So I'm looking at this part right here that I circled. So we have our negative 3 and our negative 2. Now, a lot of people want to think, oh yeah, negative 3 is bigger. Well, think about this. The further away you are from 0 when you're on the negative side, the smaller you are. So when you're looking, because 0 is where you want to be, okay? Imagine 0 is like the it, okay? It's where you want to be. The further away you are from 0, the smaller you are. So in this example, look where, so now we're going back to our number line. Look where negative 3 is, which is right here. Look where negative 4 is, which is, or I'm sorry, negative 2, which is right there. Notice that the negative 2 is closer to 0, which means that it's bigger. So this guy right here is actually bigger than the negative 3. And then we would be using symbols here, so we would say negative 3 is less than negative 2, or if we had it written the other way, we would say negative 2 is bigger or greater than negative 3. And we'll be talking more about that as we go through this lesson. All right, so look at example number 1. It says, fill in the circle with less than, greater than, or equal to make the statement true. So first of all, we have 12 circle negative 4. That means we have to fill in that circle with, is it less than, greater than, or equal to? Well, this one's pretty easy because you have one positive number, which is 12, and the other number is negative. So that means the positive number is bigger, so therefore we're going to say 12 is greater than negative 4. Well, then it wants us to compare this on the graph. Now you can see where they put the dots here. 12 they put right over here. You can see a blue dot, which I'm going to go ahead and darken mine. And then you can see negative 4 on the number line, so I'm going to darken mine again, and it's right there. So when you're comparing these, now here's the deal. The further to the right that you are, the bigger the number is, no matter what. Even if you are both on the positive side or both on the negative side, the closer to the right that you are, the bigger you are. The closer to the left side you are, the smaller your number is. Okay, so over here, and here's 0 right here. So there's your 0, but it doesn't matter. If you're on this side of your number line, you are so much bigger than the other one. Next. Now it's your turn to try on these. So you don't have to graph these unless if you want to draw a number line to graph them just to double check to see. But go ahead and pause the video at this time and see what you come up with on this problem. So you can see here, for example, A, negative 3 is greater than negative 5. Now, if you were to put these numbers on a number line, ooh, those very big numbers there. Here's where my 0 would be. Here's my negative 1. Here's my negative 2. Here's my negative 3, my negative 4, and here would be my negative 5. This is negative 3 right here. This is negative 5 right here. Remember, the further to the right that you are, the bigger you are. So notice that negative 3 is closer to the right than negative 5, which is why I said that negative 3 is greater than negative 5. On example B, negative 5 is less than 0. And on example C, 6 is greater than negative 1. Number 2, Justin has a score of negative 4 on the Trueville trivia game. Desiree's score is negative 5. Write an inequality to compare the scores and explain the meaning of the integer. Okay, so here's the deal. The first integer we see is negative 4, so you simply write negative 4. The second integer we see is negative 5, so we're going to write negative 5 right next to it like I did here. Well, it says here to write an inequality to compare them. So the first number I saw in my word problem was negative 4, so that's the first number that I'm going to write. Negative 4 is greater than negative 5. Think about it on a number line. It would be to the right, much further to the right than it would be to the left. But then it tells us to explain the meaning of the inequality. Basically, you're telling me the person that has the negative 4 has a higher score than the other person. So in this case, we want to go back to the word problem and figure out, well, who's that person? Justin. Justin's score is higher than Desiree's, which means Justin is beating Desiree in this game of trivia. However, both of them still happen to be in the negatives. Not sure how that's going too well for them. All right, now you try this one. So read the word problem. You're going to write each temperature exactly in the order that you see them, put an inequality symbol between them, and then explain what it means, the fact that we're talking about Tuesday's temperature and comparing it to Wednesday's temperature. So I'm starting by writing my 2, and then I'm going to write my negative 2. And I got those numbers from my word problem here. 2 is greater than negative 2. And what that means is that it was, think about temperatures, warmer, or you could use the word hotter, on Tuesday. That's what this is talking about here. All right, next page. You could also use the number line to order a set of integers. Integers can be ordered from least to greatest or from greatest to least. All right, well, you guys, when you're hearing the word put them in order, we're basically putting them, or ordering integers, we're basically putting them in order from, like I said, greatest to least or least to greatest. Read the directions carefully because they could ask it of you one way and ask it of you a different way. So here's your least to greatest on this one. When you put these guys in order, okay, you can draw a number line. You can see where they have the -9, which is here, and I'm going to go over them in pink. The next number you're drawing is the 6, or putting a dot there, and then the -3, and then the 0. So when you're going to read them in order, and since we're going from least to greatest, we're going to start on my smaller side first. So we would say -9 is the smallest, then -3, then 0, then 6. I literally read them in order from left to right on this one. Your other option is you can compare the negative numbers and then compare any positive numbers that you have. So the numbers that they gave you that were negative on this one, and we're going to work in the work zone now. The negative numbers they gave you was -9 and -3. Those were our 2 negative numbers. So find which one's smaller. Remember, the further away from 0 that you are, the smaller you are when you're on the negative side. That means the -9 is the smallest number. -3 has to come next. So we worked out both of those guys. Now we're going to compare the positive numbers. Well, we have 0. 0's really not positive nor negative. And then we have 6. Well, that's kind of done in that same order. 0 would go next, and then 6 would be last. All right, now you guys try. Now on this one here, they gave you a number line, so I want you to plot these points on the number line and then write them in order from, first one says greatest to least, and the second one says least to greatest. So be sure that you're paying attention so you're doing this in the correct and proper order. All right, so the first thing that I did is I went ahead and placed my dots on my number line and labeled them. Afterwards, I went ahead and wrote the answers in order from greatest to least on my E, and then I did the same thing for F. So go ahead and compare it to see how you guys did. So hopefully you got them in the same order that I did here. And if you have any questions on this, just jot down the note and then we can answer it in class tomorrow. All right, let's go ahead and look at example 4. Example 4 reads, the table shows the lowest elevation for several continents. Now, elevation has to do with how high above sea level you are or how low. The higher you are, the higher the elevation. So, order the elevations from least to greatest. So, here's the deal, you guys. So, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 countries here that are listed, and these are their elevations. Now, because those elevations are all in the negatives, I hope you realize that it means that they are located, for the majority, because it's average, below sea level, okay? Or there's some part of it is more below sea level compared to other parts. So, the lowest elevation for several, yes. So the lowest part, that's what I should say. Like the lowest part in North America, which is where we are at in North America, would be negative 86, the lowest part. So we're not sure where exactly that is, but it's somewhere there. And then Africa, look at that one. Wow, that's a big one. So what you're going to do here is you're going to put these numbers in order from least to greatest. So the smallest number. Now remember, if you're going to graph these on a number line, all right, so pretend this is your number line right here. If you're going to graph these on a number line, the numbers that are over on the left are smaller than any number that's over on the right. So look to see how they came up with these numbers. Negative 418 is so much smaller than negative 156, which is smaller than 105, which is smaller than negative 86. I think I said 105. I meant negative 105. Which is smaller than negative 86, which is smaller than negative 28, which is smaller than negative 12. So that is the correct order on those. So one thing I want you to realize is that when you're talking or when we're talking about negative numbers, The bigger the digits are, the actual smaller it is. And it's sort of like the same thing with fractions. Remember, the bigger their denominator is, the smaller that one part of that fraction really is. All right, guys, what I would like for you to do is go ahead and take the 1 to 2 minutes that it'll take you to complete questions 1 through 5 on this guided practice. All right, that's all for now. We'll see you back in class.